from years and years and years. Looks like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away. All right, here we go. Back again. And after this, I'm heading to the coast. I have to go blast the hull off of my boat, which is out of the water right now, touch up the bottom paint, get the shop to do a little bit of minor repairs, and then in the water it goes, and then it's game on again. So, I'm going to do that this afternoon, stay overnight in the boat, got my sleeping bag, got all my shit, and I'm going to get up real early in the morning on the way home. I'm going to try to catch a steelhead. And I'm going to make some videos. Then what? Then home, and then for a couple days, and then boom, over to the coast. The mainland coast, and straight to where that man emailed us with the photo he took. When he took that photo I showed the other day, I'll show it again here maybe if I remember to put it in here. He went to go camp at this spot, and he said that he felt creeped right out. I think he might have felt scared. Definitely felt like something was looking at him. Just took a random photo, and then discovered that face beside the stump, and then I believe he said it was gone, or left, or whatever. And he didn't want to go back there with me. I said, I'll go back with you. He's like, no, I'm not going. I'm like, okay, I'll go do it. So we're going to do it. Sarah's going to go with me. So I'll take her with me straight to there. I'll see if I can take the Starlink, maybe do it live just for shits and giggles. Why not? And for a couple other notes of that immediate area, maybe within a mile and a half, is where I dropped that probably 700-pound deceased pig, hog, sow, whatever monstrous, nasty thing that died at a farm. And it was picked up and taken away down a steep bank. Picked up and taken away. And I put it in an area that was thick enough the bush. I had to tie a towing strap around his ankles, back up to the edge of the logging road where it went straight down into the bush, into pine trees and Christmas trees that big and bigger, thicker than hell down there. And I had to go out with the tow strap around a tree, bring it back, and hooked it onto my bumper hitch, so that when I drove away, it pulled the hog out, and then boom, down the bank it went. And then I got the tow strap off of it. So the only way you could have made that 600-700 pound hog get it out of there would be to back a truck up with a winch on it. And the ground was soft. There's nothing. And it would be drag marks from hell. Gone. No bird droppings, no nothing. And a grizzly bear would have buried it and ate it right there. The only time a grizzly bear moves a kill is when it's in the open. They move it. They don't like, they're very insecure in the open. They need to be closed in, drag it in the bush, in the forest, and then bury it, and they'll either lay on it, or they'll go lay somewhere not too far away. So there you go. Then a guy I know from Squamish posted up the photo of a cleaned out hog skull, and that was about 1.5 miles away from where I dropped that thing, which puts the skull real close to where this guy took the photo. So there you go. There's some significance there, right? And just downhill in the very bottom of the valley, probably about 1 kilometer or 2 from where this man took the photo, these other guys had placed a dead steer. Friends of a friend had dropped a dead steer in the intersection of the valley and the river bottom, wide open, snow. And they put it there to bait wolves and hunt wolves off of. And they had trail cameras there. The steer disappeared. Not a track, no sign, nothing, gone. Huh? Right? What else? And then straight above, if you keep going up the slope from where we're going to go, Sarah and I were up there, which is on the back side of that Tri-Cooney Peak, where the biologist filmed that one going down the slope. That's right on the same slope. It's right there. As well as, that's where Sarah and I went and made that video a couple years ago, and somebody sent me the screenshot of something standing there looking at me in these 4 fir trees. And you can see it's head, eyes, nose, chin, mouth, chest. Clear to me anyway. Anyway, so there's the significance of going back to that spot, and I'm down up because it's on my way. It's interesting to me, and it's easy to do. And I always want people to go recreate. Make somebody go stand where you got that picture of whatever it is you're sending us. So I can do this, so I'm going to do it. Why not, right? Then what? Then we'll be over there for a few days, and I will be hiking in my mountains, looking for shit antlers, and just hiking, sweating, running around in my old coastal haunts. There you go. That's my babble. Now, we're going to hear some more from the late, great Bobby Short, and I enjoy sharing Bobby's voice. And I more so because she was a good, honest person, and many of the dirtbags tried to silence her and disrupt her life. So, guess what? To all them who are still alive, she hasn't gone anywhere. She's still here. There you go. Up your asses, right? Let's hear from the late, great Bobby Short, word for word from her. This next one is titled 29 Palms Marine Air Ground Task Force Training Command, San Bernardino County, California. A wife's letter. Quote, the early part of 71, my husband was in charge of the Armory Night Guard. One night he told me a Marine was found at the rifle range almost incoherent and his rifle bent almost in 2. What? He described what was later to be later called the Yucca Man. The guard felt or heard a noise coming up from the dark interior of the desert. Upon raising his rifle and shouting the command to halt, the creature came at him, taking the rifle away from him and breaking it in half. That'd be getting across a strong message, wouldn't it? The investigation of the area and the guard's description of what was that of a Bigfoot. From what I remember, federal agents were called in, but I do not know who made that call. There were many civilian dark suits walking around and men in overalls looking for additional information and clues. Local officials, they were called in from the neighborhood in 29 Palms near the base, found out 2 Yucca men seen the same night, one quite large and a smaller one with it. At the corner of Valley Vista Street and Utah Trail, the resident dogs continually barked while people looked out their windows trying to see the creature. Further down the same road later on, the creatures were observed near a horse corral where the horses were totally panicked. Another sighting was reported in Joshua Tree National Monument, now a park, and the people who sighted them were monument employees. This is a desert community, not well occupied with people, and most of the area is military base and not accessible. There you go. Author's note. The yucca plant is a desert cactus type of plant of the agave family, with stiff sword-like spiked leaves indigenous to the state of California. The term yucca man was coined by the U.S. Marines at the base during the 80s. Bending the rifle in half was a bit hard to imagine. While the rifle may have been broken at the stock, I wrestled the idea that it was totally bent in half. I think perhaps a bit of exaggeration occurred in the retelling of the incident from the husband and wife. So it would have been Bobby's words. And you know what, Bobby? I don't know. Who knows these days, right? I think it might be fairly plausible that the rifle barrel was bent in half at this stage of the game. 29 Palms Marine Corps Combat Installation. The Mojave Sandman and the Morongo Valley Monster are but a few of the names the soldiers have over time given the Bigfoot-like forms that walk the desert at night. Other names, the Holy Bully Man, Big Spike, and the Charlie Creature, a term that might have been a holdover from nickname of the Vietnam conflict. This next email came in 2005. Quote, my brother, dead now from brain tumor, was once a Marine NCO stationed in the Mojave Desert at Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center at 29 Palms, California. I remember hearing Jack tell a story about a breach in the perimeter that caused some concern. Jack called it the Mojave Sandman. This was in 1991. Since that time, I've heard the creature called the Morongo Valley Monster. Have you heard of that one? Whatever the damn thing was, my brother said it was big, hairy, and frequent visitor to the base. It seemed to travel up from Joshua Tree north directly through the base towards the Mojave Preserve and always at night between 0200 and 0300 hours. Temperatures out there in the daytime fluctuated between 120 degrees to a low of 10 degrees in the winter. This one time, he recalled, was in a blistering sandstorm, the kind that strips the paint off your car, and here comes the hair-covered Sandman right on time, up from the south, heading north the way it always went, with no apparent regard for the sting of the blowing sand. Jack always thought that was odd. When Jack reported the breach, he was ordered not to engage. My name is Kenneth, and I live near Pawnee, Nebraska. June 2005. Crazy, right? The amount of, a lot of people today, a lot of people that write in are concerned about the privacy and the secrecy of where these beings may be, and they don't want to get any attention and get them harmed. Well, it doesn't sound like they're too worried about it, right? If you go by all of these military base, military installation places, training centers, nuclear missile sites, whatever, they're not too concerned, are they? We're talking some blatant examples of, who cares, right? I'm just saying that for all you people that are being all secretive and worrisome about your Bigfoot friends. It doesn't sound like they have much to worry about to me. But then again, we've had people say, for sure, people are killing them. It's confusing, right? It's all confusing. The remarks intrigued me in that it was not only interesting why the sandstorm didn't rip the hide off the Sasquatch, but now it is the big hairy man was able to tolerate the pain. Sandstorms can be brutal, never mind how hard it is to breathe in a sandstorm of that intensity. Similarly, field men have tracked trails of footprints in deep snow that were barefooted, and even frozen feet and icy conditions seem not to bother the Sasquatch. I'm not convinced conditions play a huge role in such situations. It is possible that some Sasquatches are impervious to certain levels of pain. That was Bobby's thoughts there. Let's do another one. Nearby Fort George G. Meade U.S. Army installation. Author of 50 Years with Bigfoot, Mary Green, put me in touch with a friend of hers in January 2012 who lives outside military base fencing in Severn, Maryland, about a mile from the base perimeter that was deeply wooded. The informant didn't give out the information easily. He would not divulge the name of the military base. I filed reports most generally by county, and when he told me he lived in Severn, Anne Arundel County, Maryland, I figured the military base had to be Fort George G. Meade, a U.S. Army installation. Of interest, the base provides a wide range of services to 95 partner organizations from the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, as well as to several federal agencies, including the NSA, the National Security Agency, the U.S. Army Recruiting Command, the Defense Information School, the Defense Courier Service, the U.S. Army Field Band, and very recently, the U.S. Cyber Command. In my response with the informant, he noted the following. Quote, last year I noticed a home that was surrounded on two sides by woods. What made me notice the house was they not only had floodlights on the side of the house all night, but they always had the light on at the front door. Then after about 5 months, the house went up for sale. After they moved out, the new folks moved in, and I noticed in the wooded area close to the house some very large trees were broken in half. 2 months later, the new neighbors started leaving all the lights on also. They did not do this from the beginning. This house is very close to the base. Back in the woods, I guess it was about November of last year, 2011, a huge tree came down. And in my mind, there was only one explanation for it coming down: a Sasquatch. It was the only tree that was disturbed. As far as other Bigfoot activity, to me, at times, there is plenty. I hear many bird calls between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. Possibly Bigfoot teenagers on the move looking for food. They normally start in the winter when they are in need of food. Bracket, P-A bun, end bracket. There you go. There's a lot noted from Bobby in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Mike's Frizzle reported in July 2000, several bricklayers working at a Maryland mall construction site claimed they were badly frightened by a huge, dark, bipedal creature. The interesting part of that story is that the crew reported the sighting to police, who investigated and also saw something unusual, which they refused to talk about. We should not be surprised. In 2005, a bow hunter noticed an aggressive kind of gibberish moving east to west behind his hunting blind, which he believed was scaring off the deer. This too was in Anne Arundel County. That's Arundel County. Beyond that, howls were heard around Oxbow Lake Nature Preserve, also in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, 2008. The list is long. There you go. Next one's White Sands Missile Range. We'll hit that another time. There you go, Bobby. I'm sure you're here with us. I'll almost put money on it. She's still hanging out listening to us. She's probably got a grin on her face, so we're sharing her voice still, right? Word for word. Word for word. Can't stop her. Can't stop us. I guess they've pretty well quit trying to stop us, haven't they? I think so anyway. If they haven't, I don't know anything about it. That's good. Now, who needs to be heard here today. And as I'm trying to find my list again, just so you know, I was in swapping emails with Darren Clark. Darren Clark shared that phone video he made a few weeks back, just up the road here, where he likes to hike into this lake, where him and his wife had the trees getting beat on when they had the canoe on the lake, and where he just recently went, and he had verbal sounds and trees smashing all around him. And he has a friend, he discovered a native friend, says posting here on this channel that he's known for a long time, and he has seen them at this particular place numerous times, and has a lot of information. So we're trying to hopefully talk him into hanging out with us and sitting down having a BS session. But what I'm getting at is I'm going to hike in there with him. So at this stage of the game, what I was about to do in the south, it's going to be the same deal, right? The same deal. Why am I going to go? I don't know. I'm interested to see if something could actually impose that dread, that fear into my bones. It hasn't happened to me. And I know I've been around these beings freaking dozens of times. And even when I took off last fall on that elk hunt, when I heard that, I can't even describe the noises I was hearing coming out of that timber. It didn't petrify me, it didn't freeze me, and I didn't feel anything in my bones. It's just, I think for me at the time, it's just, holy shit, something is here. And I'm not into this. I'm out of here. That was my reaction, all right? Now it was kind of, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. It wasn't voices. It almost sounded like the sound in that timber sounded like it had to have been made with a frickin' backhoe or a dump truck or something, but there's no roads in there. And it had never been logged either. It was the largest patch of timber around that area I was in. Anyways, what I'm saying is, I haven't had anything try to speak to me through my mind, and I have not had that flavor of fear that a lot of people here describe. What am I curious of? I'm not sure yet. But my gut's telling me to go. That's the main factor here. This is my gut's telling me to go. So I think it was yesterday I told Darren, I'll go. I'm in, let's go. He's like, okay, let's go. I'm like, all right, we'll go. Maybe I'll pull a Scott Carpenter and I'll put the camera in my backpack facing backwards and one frontwards for the hike in, for the hell of it. And we'll see what happens, right? I'm just curious. If I get somebody talking to me in my head, I'm talking back. I can override fear pretty good when I want to. Enough of that. What is this one? All right, here's another one. This is titled Missouri. I hope this is a better read, round 2. Steve, I really do not know where to start with telling my story. I'll start with, I'm 42, served in the U.S. Army, 04 to 13, deployed to Iraq, and have 2 deployments to Afghanistan. In the Army, I served as a forward observer, which in training we are taught to identify targets by that it is what it is doing. Degree of protection and degree of security protection. In my school days, I played football and was not a small individual by any means. I grew up as the big kid that was always being picked on until I found out that with size comes strength, both physically and emotionally. I say that because with physical size, some men have a false sense of strength and confidence, which can lead to some bad situations. I spent my childhood running through the woods of Missouri, hunting and fishing and camping in the Ozarks in Missouri by Lake of the Ozarks and other large public and private areas. I'll never say I've had a Bigfoot experience, but when I was a teenager, I started bow hunting. And many times I went by myself since my dad did not bow hunt. In fact, my dad did not do much hunting unless there were other people with us. And that went for camping as well. You never hunted unless it was with a firearm. So I would go to local public land, and when I say that, I mean they were miles away from any big city. When I was 19, I went for an evening hunt. One night I parked at a trailhead, as some would call it. I walked about 20 to 30 minutes into the woods, keeping a general sense of the direction of where I parked since there are really no established trails to speak of. After a few hours, it was dead silent, not a creature moving. It was strange because if you've ever hunted or even been in the woods of Missouri, you would know that the squirrels are everywhere and will blow your spot by constantly barking and chirping letting everything know you were there. I've hunted Missouri a couple times, and there is thick underbrush there. Damn tree rats. On this night, I noticed that it was nice and quiet. I really did not notice anything out of the normal other than the silence, and it did not bother me. Way off in the distance, I heard a pack of coyotes howling and making a bunch of noise, which was no worries to me, but I heard tales of packs of yotes having enough balls to challenge people in the woods. So I thought I'd best get moving. I was losing light fast. Now the pack was too far away, and I did not feel that they were close enough to be a concern to me in any way. But it was time to go. As I'm walking the same path I took in the woods, I started hearing something walking behind me. Not really thinking about it, I thought another hunter slipped in after I got in the woods and had the same idea of it's time to go home. I stopped and looked behind me, expecting to see a fellow hunter. There was no one, which then I started to feel a creepy feeling. So I turned and with a quick pace, and with a quickened pace. By this time it had become dark in the wood, but still some fading light on the horizon. I started back to my truck. About 2 minutes later, I heard footsteps on my left passing me, then around behind me. And at the same time, the same thing on the opposite side, traveling in the opposite direction. Then and only then did I feel like this is bad and I need to get moving fast. As a new hunter, the worst thing is to panic and run, but move as fast as possible, and the footsteps kept coming in close. But with the light gone, I had no way of seeing what it was, and I tried to tell myself the coyotes had moved in on me, or there were a pack I did know of. By then, I thought I have encountered yotes in the past, and they ran off when they noticed me. But whatever this was, it was pacing me. And there was more than one. God, that would suck. This all happened within a 30-minute walk. It took longer since I now was walking in pitch black with minimal start light also. I must mention, in Missouri we have very thick brush and undergrowth. A man can walk in these woods 20 feet and not be seen in some parts of the land. And I just happened to pick some thick brush, hoping I can pick off a deer on their way to bedding grounds. It was thick all the way to an opening with an 80-yard stretch to the parking area. After the two, whatever it was, started circling me, I then started doing what in Army we called range walk, which is a red hare from a run, but a jog of sorts. As I started to pick my pace, the steps got closer and faster, as if they thought they were hurting me or just pushing me out of the area. I heard no vocals this whole time, just the sound of something walking in the bush, just out of sight. And it was then that I felt like I am scared, and my kneecaps were twitching for what I'm guessing was adrenaline or fear. I was never the one for confrontation. In fact, I was the big kid that was always getting beat up in school, and from that I guess, I developed a sense of knowing when I was going to have to fight. I got that feeling, and I nocked an arrow and drew back when I got that feeling, and I nocked an arrow and drew back when coming to a stop on the edge of a clearing. With full draw, I turned to where one of the sounds of steps were coming from. I acted like I was the toughest son of a bitch and yelled out, "I'll shoot you if you do not stop." Without knowing what it is to be in the fight or flight situation and not being able to fly fast enough, that is when the second one made its presence noticeable. It quickly moved closer to me, and I turned to its direction, and the movement stopped. Then the first one rushed in closer. Oh my God. Gosh, that would suck. Then it popped in my head. It is a numbers game now, and I'm on the losing side. So I relaxed my draw, and the pressure seemed to let off a bit. So I unnocked the arrow and held the arrow in my drawing hand, began to back into the clearing, and had my bow in one hand and an arrow in the other, still with quivering knees. I just wanted to make this all go away. Been there before. In my time, I have learned to never give your back to a bully, and this is what I felt like this was. I was being picked on and something was having their fun with me. But when I drew, I felt like the message was clear. I'm not a toy and I will fight. Well, that's the image I wanted to present. In fact, I was scared as F. I walked in the clearing, hearing steps in the distance, but a bit further than when they were in the brush. When I got to my truck, I noticed as it was just like when I got there, my truck was the only truck in the area. So that ruled out other hunters. I'll not say what it was because I do not know. I cannot see a damn thing. There's a part of me that tells myself that it was coyotes or feral dogs, but with feral dog, they do not fear humans. In coyotes, I believe, if they targeted a person and the numbers were on their side, they would have attacked. I could be wrong, but neither one of those theories answers the question of why did they back off when I chose to stand my ground? Is my first unexplained event in the woods. My second experience happens when I was 21. I became friends with an older guy that was a Vietnam vet and worked with the white mice in Vietnam. Excuse me, I don't know what that is. He has some land we would bow and rifle hunt. We always walk in a single file path to our hunting spot. And if I'm behind him, I would always watch him walking in the dark because his body language would change when he walked in the dark. He would always walk in about 1 hour or 2 hours before sunrise so we could let the woods fall back to sleep, as my friend would say, after we walked in and make noise. Not knowing much about the other than being a dumb 21-year-old, I started noticing some days in the woods my friend would be anxious, and then he would be calm and not make a movement. Then I started taking notice that sometimes the squirrels would hide and birds would disappear. Then he would get fidgety. Now this man had been in ambushes and crazy shit in his time. Vietnam. I've watched him sit like a statue and scan with just his eyes when the nature sounds would stop. I thought it was just a disciplined hunter. I would mimic this when he started as well, but never saw anything. And then my friend would turn, whisper, and talk once the birds came back or the squirrels would make their chirping sounds. Never did I pick up on anything out of the ordinary. Fast forward years after my time in the Army and 3 deployments, latter one to Iraq and 2 to Afghanistan, and seeing some crazy shit. And of course the building of seances and fighting through emotions and not control them can get you killed or hurt. Or worse, getting someone else hurt or killed. A few years after returning home, I went back to the land that I had been hunting with my friend, by myself, and I've been hunting deer and turkey. I know those woods for years. There's not a tree on that I did not know or sit under waiting for a deer or calling in a tom turkey. I'll admit there had been days where I just had a creepy feeling in the woods, but just wrote it off as I got too far in my head and thinking about my days deployed and did not think too much about it. I have had deer walk within 5 feet of me. I even had a white and silver female coyote walk up to me when calling a turkey. I was not worried about it. I'd even welcomed the encounter and wanted to see how close she would come before she winded me. Well, the wind was right, and her nose touched my boot. Then she about shits herself, running away and got the heart pumping. Even had a deer during turkey season walk up and sniff my hat while I fell asleep, and only woke because my friend hit me with a rock that told me that a doe was sniffing me while I had a nap. One day, my friend and I were going hunting, and my friend had called and said he wasn't feeling well. I didn't feel like going. I jokingly said, well, you're in your 60s now, you'll feel like shit more often. LOL. He laughed and said, good luck and be careful. This land has been in his family for a long time. That kind of hit me different. I replied with "Get well, and we'll link up next weekend and hunt." He said okay. So I showed up to the land and had about a mile-long walk through the bean fields and timber before we get to where we hunt, and even had a cleared path. So I don't have to worry about making a bunch of noise walking in the pitch black dark. It would be normal to spook some turkeys out of the roost on some mornings during the deer season, but this morning there was no roosting turkey. No big deal, I continued on to my favorite tree. After an hour or so, normally, in the chilly weather, the squirrels would normally come out and making a bunch of noise. But now I'm sitting 2 hours with no squirrels, no turkey gobbling off in the distance. No yotes howling, no farm dogs off in the distance barking, just nothing. So I thought, well, might as well get a nap in until something makes a sound. So I just sat there with my eyes closed and noticed it was getting colder, which meant the sun to come up. It seemed to get colder right before it warms up. Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? I remember pipelining up in the Northwest Territories in the middle of winter, minus 5,000. And just when that sun is about to break the horizon, you're already working out there, standing out there, that it would be so freaking cold. The worst time is just when the sun's coming up. It's a weird thing. Something prompted me to open my eyes, and I noticed there had been some fog developed and set in the trees. I did get a little unsettling feeling, but no big deal. I don't like being able to see through the woods. The sun finally cleared out some of the fog, and it took about 2 hours to clear it all out. All of a sudden, I had a rush, much like when I was a kid, when I would get beat up by the bullies, or right before we got hit by an IED and all hell broke loose in Iraq. We know it was the fight or flight instinct. By this time, it's about 8 a.m. I cannot explain why I am on high alert, why I did not want to get up and move. And then all of a sudden, the memory of when I hunted on public land rushed to my mind. And being pushed out of the spot like I did all those years ago. By this time, it was about 20 or 30 degrees air temperature, and I'm sweating my ass off, scanning, quote, sector of fire, end quote, as if I'm back deployed, waiting for a firefight. That would have to be so unnerving, on edge, waiting for a firefight. I heard movement in the brush to move. And even saw the movement through the brush, but could not see what was causing the brush to move. Did not make noise. Sorry, did not that make sense to me? Sorry, it's a little awkward to read this one, but we're getting there. I'm getting there. One more time. Could not see what was causing the brush to move. Did not that make sense to me? By this time in this area, black bear have not been reported. But in Missouri, black bear had made a comeback, but no one has seen one close to where I was at the time. I know a little about scent and how it works, and with the wind and everything, there is no way something could not smell me at this time, with the sweat and adrenaline run. This was not buck fever. I've had that every time I shot a deer. This was far worse. And I felt ready to fight. And I was in no way going to turn my back to the direction I felt the pressure coming from. The thicket between me and the river. I never got a good view of what was walking along the bank behind the thick brush. More so, after about 10 minutes of this rush of emotion and feelings, the woods became alive, and even had an acorn hit me in the head, as if a squirrel was trying to say, "Dum-dum, it's all clear." After all this, I left the woods midday, got to my truck, and started to process all that. Once again, I did not see anything, but in both cases, there were no small animals evident. In both cases, low visibility. But more importantly, when the times my friend would sit like a stone statue and only move his eye, I realized what I was doing when scanning, when I saw the movement, but not being able to see what it was. When I got home that day, I was not the same. And my dad saw that even though he was suffering from dementia, he saw I was not me. Hoping he would be in his own world with his dementia, I started talking about everything to him, and his eyes closed, and I opened up, and it flowed out. My dad opened his eyes, pointed to his coffee table, and started tapping his finger on the coffee table like he wanted something from under it. Under it. With it when I opened the door. They were books from the 70s about Bigfoot. I was speechless. When I found your channel, it was like a new direction and a weight was lifted off my chest about this. Since I started following Missing 411, I know there are things in this world that can or will not be explained because the government will prevent it from happening. I hate to say in some cases I understand why the government withheld information. In some cases it's safer to not know something that doesn't affect your daily life, but in the cases when people are disappearing without a trace, the government should be overwhelming with the info. I do not know what it was that I had an encounter with, but to say it was a Bigfoot, not convinced it was or wasn't. Last thing I want to have 100 guys taking over land looking for the monkey man or caveman. One thing is for sure, we are never the top of the food chain in the woods. Whether you're in bear country or surrounded by feral dogs or coyotes, wolves, or faced with a mountain lion, which I have had one encounter with that the state government said, no way that happened. We don't have big cats in our state. In my opinion, we are never in control of anything but our own actions. If I could give anyone any advice, it is don't go in the woods alone. If you're not 100% sure, you know what you're doing. Safety in numbers. Since all this, I have had kids, and the outdoor life was put on hold until my little boy got old enough to start backpacking and camping. Sorry for the extremely long email. I don't care if you share this or not. Feel free to. After all, this is why we all reach out to you. The thing I cannot get my head around is that this all happened in Missouri. We're not known for Bigfoot encounters. Oh, yes, you are. I mean, we have lots of undeveloped farmland, but you can't go for endless miles without coming to a farmhouse. So I have no idea where this entity / being or animal could hide without being seen or even caught on the camera. If you have more info on Missouri encounters, I'd love to hear about them. I have some theories why some of these veterans say they were more scared when seeing Bigfoot than when in combat, or why some people are found miles away from where they were last seen. But also send a follow-up email since this one has taken up so much time. I purposely left out names, locations, and only gave area names. Since your video stating you're being monitored and some viewers are being confronted at their homes. Sorry, I want to share my story, but I don't need any bullshit because of it. Take care, give your horses my best, and thank you for giving us an outlet. Thanks, the Army guy. There you go. Yeah, it was a long one, but oh well. I enjoyed reading it. Was there anything new in there that we possibly weren't familiar with so far? Not really, but that's not the point of the game, is it? More patterns, but my God, could you imagine 2 of them? 2 somethings? I mean, if you're not familiar with being in the bush by yourself, it'd probably be hard for you to picture it, but having 2 intelligent things circling you and rushing in on you, one closer, one closer, one closer, one closer. There's going to be nothing more intimidating for you being in the bush than that, especially if you're a seasoned outdoors person, and especially if you're a seasoned, confident A-type hunter. That is going to be a bit much for your noggin to take in and deal with. Yeah. No thanks. Right? No thank you. Now, should I share another one? What do we got here? Because I got to get going. I got to drive for over an hour. Get my boat all frickin' power sprayed off. It's going to take forever, and I have to do it today. So that I get up first thing in the morning and go try to catch steelhead and take you guys in the woods with me. This is titled Broken Branches and Trees. SG, my name is Jeremy. I'm from the southeastern New Mexico. I reached out to you before with a story. I have a question for you. Recently, my brother and friend and I went out looking for elk sheds in the Lincoln National Forest in southeastern New Mexico. We noticed many broken trees. Trees completely broken in half. trees pushed down, and trees all tore up everywhere on the mountain. I've never seen this before. I want to know if you have. I have filmed it, or at least part of it. I will show you in the video below. Please email me back if you can, or let me know on YouTube, whatever is easier. Thank you. It would let me upload the video to... It wouldn't let me unload... Oh, sorry. All right. It wouldn't let you load the video onto email, so you send me the link. Let me see if I can pull this off. All right. It's a green broke tree. Pretty thick.
It's everywhere, all along there. Look at that one.
They're not burnt.
Maybe a bear.
That wasn't a bear. Oh wow, you're in the woods, aren't you? Different kind of terrain than I'm used to. I gotta get this other computer screen hooked up so I can do this at the same time behind me. Share it. Wow, something definitely went ape shit on
I've never seen any of this before.
Weird.
Those are green too.
Those were live trees that were snapped off. These are thick trees.
And that was old. Look at that branch.
Whoa.
Look at that.
Wow.
What is breaking all these?
Oh, how long's this video? 11 minutes. 11 minutes. Shit. Something went crazy in that timber, and he's in the timber. I mean, he's up on the hill. All right, here we go. Let me share it with you guys. Sorry.
I don't know how many trees I've seen like this. They're green when they broke.
It's green. It's a big tree.
It's everywhere, all along there. Look at that one. Maybe a bear.
That wasn't no bear. He's out there, isn't he?
Been seeing a lot broken off the treetops. I've personally never seen any of this before. See, those are green too. And that was old. Look at that branch.
Check out those branches.
What is breaking all these? It's everywhere. A woman. There's another one up there broken. I think he was out here rampaging.
All right, so hold on a minute.
Check that something.
Okay, there's his channel. If you guys want to watch the rest of that YouTube channel, it's right here, alright? Alright? There's like 11 minutes of him videotaping these broken trees, and one thing for certain there is you're definitely out in the woods, and there's nothing to fall in those trees and smash them off, is there? There you go. What did that? I don't know. Obviously a concerned elk hunter wondering what the hell did all this, right? Anyway, I'm gonna get ripping. I'm gonna get out of here. What else am I gonna share? I think that's about it. You know, I'm thinking on the what I'm hoping, if I think I might be approaching some kind of a crossroads for myself personally when it comes to this journey that we're all on. It's almost like in my mind, I'm not inviting or looking for something to speak to me through my brain, which thousands of people have reported here happening. But let's just say Darren and I go hiking in there and shit starts going down. One thing for sure, I'll have it on video, without a doubt, because now I got this camera. I have an SD card, and this camera will film for 6 hours straight. So, and I've got a GoPro and a card that says it'll record for 2.5 hours plus. So I can have one on the front of me, one on the back of me for the hike in and the hike out, just for the hell of it, right? And then, but more for me. I mean, whatever. Catch sounds on video, catch on video, whatever. I don't really give a shit if something happens that way or not. I don't care. I think possibly for me at this stage of the game with the journey, I think I would hope that for me, with the knowledge I've gathered for myself through all of you and myself, is if some being attempts to speak to me in my mind, I hope I'm going to stand my ground and go, cut the shit. Enough of your bullshit. The cat's out of the bag. We know you're here. And you know I'm here. I'm not into your 2-bit scare, get out of here or else bullshit. Stand in the open. And if you can speak to me this fluidly in between my ears, you can answer some questions and you can speak to me like a couple of grown adults. Right? In a way, right? I would hope to think I could pull that off. But who knows? I don't know. Fright does weird things to people, right? I haven't experienced absolute. I've experienced being scared in life, but I can force myself to do things. I can force myself to crawl on my hands and knees after a wounded grizzly bear knowing he's setting up to kill me. Passed that test. Unfortunately, a few times. So, I'm not saying that to sling my dick. I'm just saying that I think that I can stand my ground and face it and say, all right, cram your attitude up your ass and up your stupid two-bit frickin' threats. Speak up. Speak to us. That's what I would hope that I could pull off. We'll see. We shall see. I'm definitely going to be exposing myself to that potential situation this next week. And I'll share every bit of it with you guys because that's what we do, right? There's no secrets here. There ain't no secrets here when it comes to me and all this shit. There's no secrets. There's no secrets here. I learn it, I hear it, I share it with you. I learn it, I see it, and get asked not to share it publicly, I don't share it. Because you're nothing without your word, right? So there you go. There you go. That's what we got going down. That's what's coming up. My gut's telling me something's coming. My gut is telling me something's coming. Something's coming. If there's a game changer, it's coming. Here we go. I should be able to pull off, get more information shared tomorrow, I do believe. And wherever I do it from, I guarantee it's going to be the woods unless it's absolutely pissing rain, which it might be. I hope not. But anyway, there you go. Enough babbling. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Sarah's got some new goodies in her store. I think some stickers or something. She's got some pins made. Now she's into all that shit. Some of the original hats that everybody loved. She got that. She got some other stuff coming up. Blah, blah, blah. Put that in the description below. And I will be back shortly. Be safe. Make sure you're doing something you love to do right now. This weekend. Get it done. No excuses. None. You go do whatever it is you love to do and take your kids with you if you got them. Later. Be safe.